Hey there, everybody. My name is Jordan Smallwood, and I'm currently a product manager at Amazon. And I'm here to take you through really what is going to be a real life case study through my career so everybody here can see how to possibly transition from a non traditional background into something like product management. And if you're somebody who's either in a different field like I was and trying to transition to product management, or you're early in your career and you want to either move up and down the size chain, or you're an existing product manager who, quite frankly, wants to see what the competition is looking like. And I'll be honest with you, maybe I'm not the best competition. Either way, I think you'll find this talk not only instructional, but maybe you can steal a few things and avoid some of the mistakes I've made so you can be that much better than I am, which shouldn't be too hard. So a little bit about me. I did my undergraduate schooling at Howard University in Washington, D.C., where my parents both graduated from. And recently, what was that? May 14th, I graduated from USC's Marshall School of Business with an MBA in technology commercialization, which is a very eloquent academic way of saying I majored in product management. My career, as you can see, it not only is pretty eclectic, to put it nicely, but there are many different disciplines and company sizes. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this right now, but I do want people to take a look at this and realize that no matter how linear you may hope your journey is, there are going to be some twists and turns, and that is okay. There is no problem with that. As long as you stay focused and you're adhering to your plan and staying in your lane, you're not going to have any problems. So why was I even interested in product? Well, I got to give a lot of credit to my dad. This guy, not this guy. This guy's my dad. Sorry, I need to stop playing. Well, my mom and my dad, I respect them greatly. They not only are obviously the people who birthed me, but they are the best examples I've had of how to navigate through life as a business professional. In fact, my dad is actually the only person I'm trying to compete with, right? You got to beat the 1.0 version if you truly can be called a 2.0 version. But anyway, my exposure to tech started really early when I was 7. I always liked what my dad did for work, but because of obviously him working a 9 to 5 and again, me being 7, there weren't many opportunities for me to see what my dad did at work. However, one day, all the planets aligned. My mom was working a night shift. My dad, being an engineer, had to do something really quickly at work. And so he asked me if I wanted to come. And at 7 years old, I thought, wait a second, it's about 8 o'clock and I don't have to go to bed and we get to go on a field trip. Oh yeah, sign me up. I'm in there like swimwear. So he drove me up to this place called Hewlett Packard. Maybe some of you have heard of it. Kind of a small company out there in Silicon Valley. And while he was working, you wouldn't believe it, but the co-founder of Hewlett Packard, in fact, the H in Hewlett Packard, Bill Hewlett, happened to be in the office at the time. And he saw me, and he saw my dad, and he walked up. He was a lot older back then. And he looked at me. My dad said, "Hey, how's it going, Bill? This is my son, Jordan." He shook my hand. And I kid you not, I'm not trying to be all weird, but I felt some sort of thing, right? I don't know what it was. I would argue that it probably was just inspiration. But either way, as soon as Bill Hewlett shook my hand, I started, feeling all warm inside, right? And he said something to me. He said, I do work with your dad. He's a really smart guy. Okay, let's take a pause here. Every CEO in the world is going to say that at a company picnic, a broad, just company event, anything, right? It's to show little kids that, hey, your parent is cool, even though we're working them a little bit, right? But for me, I don't know why, but I looked at my dad, looked at Bill, looked at my dad, looked at Bill, and I don't know why. I guess I can chalk this up to second grader logic. But for some reason, him saying that made me think, you know what? I can do what Bill does, right? I didn't say what my dad does because I knew I did not care for math even when I was 7. But I knew, this guy's a CEO and he seems pretty cool and he seems like he can do what he wants. He doesn't have a bedtime. So I want to be like that guy when I grow up. And that, my friends, was what I consider the spark that got me into software and into technology as a whole. And even though I couldn't articulate it at the time, I told my dad, I want to work at a company. That was all my 7-year-old brain could muster at the time. Well, a few years later, when my dad left HP to join a small company called NetLedger, I had finally crystallized what I wanted to do. And I knew that I want to be in product management. However, there were some interesting things there, right? How do you go from being 7 years old and meeting Bill Hewlett and just saying, I want to work in corporate America, to then you're 10 and you go, I want to be in product management? Well, it is actually not that simple. I am not some I'm not some cool, prodigious kid. For some reason, I just like the idea of not having to be super, super technical like my dad, but you could still have influence over the technical decisions for a product. And I really liked how product managers took these oftentimes broad technical specifications, broad technical functionalities, and packaged them into what is a cohesive product or business. That has always appealed to me. That was kind of my anchor, if you will, that I, kind of leveraged as I matriculated into my product role. And my dad joining NetLedger, which is now called NetSuite at the time, was even more transformational because without knowing it, some of the nicer founding members there, I was too young to realize what power they had. So the joke I like to make with people when I interview is that at NetSuite, I showed up for the little kid beer, which we can lovingly call Martinelli's Apple Cider. And they had a PlayStation 2 at the time, right? Which again, for a little kid, really sick. I'm always going to be there versus being at home. But I stayed for the cool technology because back then, enterprise cloud technology or cloud ERP, as it's called today, was very, very nascent and just emerging. So I got to see some really cutting edge stuff as a little kid, and that exposure and seeing the marriage of the business and technical and getting to meet some of NetSuite's product managers really did a lot for me. However, there was one issue. So back then, to be a product manager, no ifs, ands, or buts. Notice the minimum. You have to have a bachelor's degree in computer. Look, I'm not going to read it. You all know what it is. This is probably what discouraged some of you when you were trying to get into product management. And when you really look at it, product management at a glance is not just the technical discipline. That is a part of the concentric circles. But notice there's a business element, there's a UX element. I'm not going to go through all the different paths of product management that you can go down. I think a lot of other much more intelligent product leaders than I am have already eloquently laid that out. In fact, what I'm really here to do is to show you how to figure out which circle you may be a bit more indexed in, and how to use that, again, like I mentioned, as an anchor to get better at these other areas, or maybe just to go really deep in one area and only hit the minimum qualifications here to get that perfect product job that's a fit. Now, I want to take a pause here because that sounds really weird, right? Well, why would you not want to be absolutely the best at everything? You can't, right? Don't think that you can't, quote unquote, be the best at everything, but I'm a firm believer in comparative advantage. In other words, you cannot be good at everything. It is literally impossible. There are going to be certain things that you're good at, certain things you're not good at. Like I may have mentioned this earlier, but this is something my mom was really good at. When I was 5, my sister was a kid, but when she got to the same age, my mom did the same thing. She was really good at helping us understand what we were good at and what we were not so good at. Not in a way to bring us down, but to show us what we can use again as an anchor to help open doors for us, and maybe which things are holding us back that we can either get better at to mitigate career or life risk, or maybe something that we're not good at now, but we can be good at later. Either way, please see product as more of a matrix discipline and not, oh, I absolutely have to hit this checklist, and if I don't, I'm dead. Companies have become a lot more complex, particularly in the software space. So please do not be discouraged. In fact, to show you why you shouldn't be discouraged, to get into product management, I started with product marketing. Very weird. Well, I want to give a lot of credit to my literally the first boss I ever had, Paul Turner. I got into product marketing because, again, being discouraged by the minimum qualifications, I realized that I needed to, frankly, do what I could with the tools that I had at my disposal, which was product marketing. And I really got into that when I was about 17, when I started to write about different software products and how I felt about them. Look, it wasn't super advanced stuff, but I was getting reps and learning how to look at a product that maybe was more technical than the average person was used to and figure out how to make that digestible for a larger audience. And Paul Turner not only has been a great mentor through my life and has helped me get off the ground when I may have been discouraged in this transition, but he actually gave me the book on product marketing and some of the elements that later helped me in product management. He helped me see that product management and product marketing both share a desire to get the right UX, because ultimately, if a user doesn't like what they're using, especially in the software space, which are the examples I'll use, you're not going to be able to market anything. In fact, the joke I used to make when I was in product marketing was I said, I'm going to get into product management because no matter how good I am at marketing, I mean, I could be the Michael Jordan, LeBron James of marketing, no matter what. If the product sucks, I'm dead, right? However, marketing does allow you to practice, if you are in marketing, some of the skills that go into product management. By the way, I'm not just saying product marketing is the only way to get into product management. I'm just talking about my particular entry point. Again, everybody has a unique entry point that, frankly, they are uniquely advantaged in compared to everybody else. And that's what makes them great product managers. But anyway, for me, that was understanding user experience with customer feedback, delivering to marketing channels, writing user guides, etc. I also, as a product marketer, you also had to index on the business side with external research, trying to develop partnerships as you moved along the value chain, understanding what areas of your customer funnel are where people convert, which applies not only to B2B businesses, but also to B2C businesses. And finally, the last part, which this is not always the case with product marketing, but because I got really deep into enterprise product marketing, enterprise product marketers are usually held accountable for writing the user guides and doing some of the preliminary business intelligence to even to even engage in opportunity sizing to determine what areas you want to plant a flag in. So I already was getting a taste of product management without even knowing it. In fact, the turning point occurred when after moving on from a company called Chegg, where I did a lot of great stuff. I got a lot of firsthand product management lessons from a man named Gibson Biddle, as well as a really patient man named Abu Nomani, who to this day is the best product manager I've ever met. But again, because I couldn't quite pivot into product management at Chegg, I went to a company called Symphony where, frankly, everything changed for me. I won't divulge all of it, but at the very least, from a resume standpoint, when my manager, Barry Castle, gave me a chance to work on product marketing documentation and actually start coding it via HTML into our product, that was the small opening I needed to not only realize, wait a second, the product management, I guess, discipline, if you will, has shifted. It's not just ex-engineers anymore, which I noticed at Chegg. But additionally, as I was writing the user guide, there's a hyper-specific moment that actually gave me the confidence that I needed, which was when I started writing the admin guide talking about Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, or LDAP, or as most people know it, Active Directory. Once I started writing about that and just diving really deep into understanding what that all entailed, it was like a light bulb went off. And I won't divulge too much, but that was where I started realizing, all right, I need to make this move to transition from product marketing into product management. Now, when I was doing that, let's just say there was so much winning. Clearly there was not. And you'll notice the highlights here. I got rejected so much. I understand the Booleans to type into my Gmail to pull up the expansive list of all the different artful ways I've been rejected, right? And I threw this up here because I want people to remember, when you are making a career pivot, it does not matter. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to be hard, especially in product management, right? A lot of people want to be product managers. It's a highly matrix job. It's a highly contextual job. And it's not something where you just have to have the right skills. You have to have experienced the right things, had to have had the right life experience. And that's what makes product management such a high bar to get over, just to get in the door. So I wanted to show this to show you that it happens to all of us. And after getting all those rejections, I think I hit a breaking point. I won't tell you all when, I won't tell you the exact company, but I was interviewing, and the product manager interviewing me at the time quite literally cut the interview short and said, yeah, this conversation isn't interesting. We have nothing to talk about. Okay. If for people who are product managers or who will become product managers, don't ever do that. Don't act like that. That is not what you want to do. We want to build people up, but nonetheless, that person said that. And the competitor in me, coming from, being a football walk-on who didn't make the team the first time, it just woke something up in me. And I say, you know what? Actually, I won't tell you all the explicit version, but let's just say that person had me messed up, if you will. So to break through, I actually had to make a plan. And the plan ended up manifesting itself in 4 steps. I had to clarify my vision, maximize the skills to make sure that I was still headed on the right path towards my vision, which is, or was and is, being the ultimate product manager. As I maximize my skills, I had to refine my resume, right? You got to refine your resume for the job you want to get. And then as the final piece, and this is probably, I'll just be honest with you, a close second to maximizing your skills. And really, I shouldn't even say a close second. Sequentially, it's the logical next step. If you were to cut out, this refining your resume part, no matter what, if you're transitioning into a different job, you have to build credibility, period. Many people call that subject matter expertise. Either way, just remember, it's like my dad taught me. He said, when somebody is hiring you to do a job, especially in the modern era, there is a lot of money at stake. Not only a lot of money at stake, but a lot of momentum and a lot of time. In other words, when companies reject you, even if you are the right fit, right? What does Google say all the time? They want to avoid, they'd rather have false negatives than false positives. That's real. Because if you have a false positive, AKA you hire somebody who is not the best fit, that not only could tank your department, it could tank your company for the foreseeable future. And then whoever you hire, the next person who comes in has an even more monumental task of trying to undo all the momentum that was lost when the right fit hire was chosen, when the not right fit hire was not chosen. So nonetheless, these are kind of the steps that we're going to go through. So let's talk about clarifying your vision. So I mentioned a gentleman named Gibbs and Biddle, earlier in my career. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Don't judge me on that. But Gibb was really instrumental in that. Seeing him walking around Chegg, which is where he was working at the time, which is where I was working at the time. I don't know why, but I thought he was so cool. I was like, man, this guy's over here. He has a drone. He's building products. Everybody's saying they need to talk to Gibb. This guy seems pretty cool. Around that same time, somebody else on my team who had a more direct influence on me getting the product was a gentleman named Aboon Amani. Aboon, to this day, best pound for pound product manager I've ever met. And he was gracious enough to get me started on some product management best practices that really operated as almost like seeds, if you will. He planted those seeds early on, much like my dad did even earlier on. So going back to Gibb and clarifying your vision, Gibb has a really, really, really great blog, Substack, and he does public speaking, but it's called Ask Gibb. And when it comes to clarifying your vision, Gibb has this really, really, really good article called Hacking Your Product Leader Career. Hey, man, y'all are trying to transition to product. Let's hack it, right? So as you can see, Gibb talks about he went through this exercise, right? Is he a marketing leader versus a product leader? And he's coming from the purview that I'm coming from. I want to go into product, but I'm in a different discipline. How do I do it? So again, I won't spoil the ending, right? No spoilers on here, but I would suggest checking that out. And of course, if you want to know how to get there, hit me up on LinkedIn and I'll shoot you the link, or find Gibb. So one thing I want to mention about clarifying your vision, actually, just to go back, even before I met Gibb, even before this, to make it even more plain, I actually have an exercise that I always go through that. Like I mentioned, when my mom told me what I was good at versus what I wasn't good at, I started asking myself, okay, if I'm plotting out my career, where do I want to be at the end of my career? Now, the morbid way I said it was when I'm on my deathbed, what I want to say I've accomplished, but that's a little too morbid for a product school. So when you're at your retirement party, passing out some delicious cake, what do you want to say you have done? And whatever you want to say you have done, just use that as your North Star, right? That's quite literally clarifying your vision. And this is something that I've noticed affects people in graduate school, FANG companies, startup companies, whatever. A lot of people don't actually know where they want to be or what they want to do. So they make decisions that sound like something they want to do, but because they're not quite decisive about it, they get all this cognitive dissonance, which causes a lot of like career angst, makes you feel weird, stresses you out. In my case, in one stop I had, gave me stress highs. You don't want to do that. Clarify your vision. And so how do you do that? Well, like I mentioned, you want to do a really good job articulating who you are and what you do. So here's what it looks like for me. And again, this is an exercise that Gibb has taken people through in some of the sessions that he has. And this is in that article. So how would you present yourself? So who am I? I'm an operational and data-focused product leader who uses design creativity, value chain analysis, and strategic thinking to build user-friendly, software-based products and businesses that solve ridiculously difficult or complex problems. Now, this last part is not to be cute or cool or crazy. I literally mean that. In fact, I noticed that a lot of the things that attracted me professionally were problems that had the potential to have really big impact, but for whatever reason, there was a quite sizable barrier, whether it be an innovation barrier, an operational barrier, whatever have you. Those are the problems I like solving. And since I know who I am and the problems I like solving, what do I actually do to be that person, right? How can I become that really good product manager? Well, the product manager I wanted to be, and the product manager I am, I guess, which is really cool. Thank God that I'm a product manager now. I specialize in growing businesses or business units from the ground up. My pre-launch expertise centers around gap analyses, market research, user research testing, product market fit, user personas, wireframing, customer data platform architecture, agile product development, and setting KPI benchmarks for usability and profit and loss, or P&L. Now, this is very interesting because remember how I said I started out in product marketing and that acted as an anchor? Well, gap analyses, while that is a product management activity, product marketers do that. That was where I got to practice that. I practiced market research again as a product marketer, user research and testing. This is where I got really lucky. This is where, through the grace of people like Gibb, Abunamani, my manager at the time, Stephanie Seibert, now Stephanie Smith, Marie Etema, one of my old coworkers, Carly Keller. Oh, and of course, my homeboys, Brendan Baker and Mark Eberhardt. I got to literally sit in some of Chegg's user research. We quite literally had a focus group room complete with a two-way mirror. And that taught me a lot. Oh, my God. And I got to learn from somebody named Oliver Raskin, who frankly is a customer insights thought leader, about how to properly engage in user research and testing. And of course, as a product marketer, you have to create product market fit, right? There are no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And of course, develop user personas. That is where product marketing got me up to here, right? So it took me halfway there. Wireframing, customer data platform architecture, blah, blah, blah. All of that happened a little bit later in my career. So, that was a whirlwind, right? Let's take a quick pause. So while everybody's marinating on that, you're probably wondering, well, how would you even measure how effective you are at communicating what you bring to the product management discipline? Well, here are the metrics that I came up with that helped me kind of hold myself accountable to make sure that I not only was progressing in the right way, but also, and I want people to hold this in your mind, not as a way to discourage you, but just to be brutally honest with yourself, for your long-term success. Should I even be in product management? And this is something that you should do for anything. Again, grad school, product management, product marketing, finance, whatever. You should figure out ways to measure how you're doing in your transition into a different discipline. So for me, that meant quite literally tracking LinkedIn recruiter search volume. So this is something that's free on LinkedIn. You don't have to pay for it. If you pay for LinkedIn Premium, I think it allows you to go that much further down into analyzing how you're doing, because you quite literally can see some of the Boolean searches that people engage in to find you. That can help you measure how well your LinkedIn profile or how you're presenting yourself is at the very least getting recruiters to sniff around. And then another quite more obvious indicator is beyond the jobs that you're not, besides the jobs that you're applying for, obviously recruiters are going to reach out. What are recruiters reaching out to you for? This is where combining what recruiters are reaching out to you for, combining it with, like I said, what top search terms are used to even find your profile, you'll be able to find out really quickly how you're actually perceived in the market, which is a very big deal because that'll tell you how much further you have to go or how not much further you have to go. Sorry, eloquence is escaping me at this time. The other step is maximizing your skills. So I want to spend a bit of time here because there are many ways to maximize your skills. These are two screenshots for a company I started called Seek. So remember when I mentioned that learning about LDAP just, boom, hit me in the head and helped me realize, okay, it's time to make that move into product management. Well, while I was applying, I was so frustrated that I wasn't able to be a product manager that I said, you know what, if I can't be a product manager, let me try to start a company so I can not only practice my skills, but if I'm lucky, I could be like Bill Hewlett. And what's funny is to show how life comes full circle, if you will, that spark came to me before I even got to Symphony when I was at Chegg. I was in London. I read the book Bill and Dave, which is written by Michael Malone. I would highly encourage you read it. It's very instructional on how Silicon Valley actually kind of came about and became what it was. And I don't know why, but once again, learning that journey, learning about, HP's unique culture, for some reason I thought, well, heck, man, Bill Hewlett showed me love. Let me start a company and show myself some love. And that's what Seek was. And what was really cool about Seek was this represented 5 years of my life where I was able to practice being a product manager in real time. You do not have to start a company to do so. In fact, the joke I make is for the privilege of becoming a product manager, I paid several $1,000s and the company didn't necessarily take off. But I learned a lot of great things, right? My co-founder, Austin Knopp, he and our creative director, Kaiser Pei Benito, they are two of the best designers I've ever come across in my life. I mean, you see people doing flat design, man, they were doing that about 7 years ago, right? And they taught me a lot of the best practices for UI UX, which obviously as a product manager, you do have to care about that, even at the enterprise level. So that there was the UI UX balance there, right? If we think about those three circles working together, that was the UX portion. My technical co-founder, Brett Doolin, he, you know what, I got to give this brother a lot of credit because he was really patient with me growing as a first-time product manager and giving not so great specs. He would help fill in the gaps. He would ask me questions that later helped me learn what I needed to clarify. And even more so, one of our head of mobile at the time, Michael Stelly, he quite literally taught me how to write a user story. So as you can see, it may have taken a long time. The company may have failed, but either way, I was able to refine these skills. And what was even cooler was I was doing this during vampire hours, right? On nights and weekends. So as I was moving up the ranks career-wise in my day job, as a product manager, I was putting in that extra time. When you're pivoting, I want to be very, very clear, not to discourage anybody. In fact, to encourage people, it's going to be a lot of work. It's a lot of work to transform yourself, right? If you were transforming yourself into an athlete, into a great dancer, into a great singer, whatever, you're going to have to put the hours in, right? While LeBron may have been born an amazing basketball player, that man puts in work. And I think we all can admit that. But again, I don't want people to think that you need to start a company. In fact, go through AngelList. There are a lot of bootstrap startups who are looking for product help. That's another way that you can refine or build some of your product management skills without having to do something like go to grad school. Grad school is not bad, but there are less expensive ways. In fact, I love USC. USC is the best, and it worked out for me, and I really like that. Knowing what product school does, I always wonder, would I have still done grad school if I had known about product school? I probably would have, because I had to learn how to better play with others, for lack of a better word. But nonetheless, you don't have to spend money to learn. If people make you feel like you have to spend a whole bunch of money to get better at a skill, they're kind of strong arming you a little bit. Well, and how do I measure success here? So I hope this image can stick in your head. If you watch, what is that? Not First Take. Oh my God, Undisputed with Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless. There was one episode where Shannon Sharp said, "That ain't no problem." And when you want to see how well you're doing maximizing your skills, you should be able to look at the basic qualifications. I pulled this from a random product management job. I'm not going to say what it is. It doesn't matter. But if you can look at the basic qualifications for the role you're trying to get into, and for each bullet point, you're saying, that ain't no problem. Or at the very least, you feel very confident that you can learn or get up to speed with maybe 10, 15% of these, then go for it. And not only that, but if you feel confident going through this checklist and using this as a checklist, you don't have to always get feedback, because I know sometimes when you do interviews and you get rejected, feedback does not always come so easily. And as you're refining your skills, you want to refine your resume. So remember how I mentioned Seek? Well, hey, look at this. This sounds less marketing like, right? We see APIs, HIPAA, React Native, GraphQL. And this part was really cool, because I think what I'm most proud of is, despite not being an engineer, working with and trusting and having a nice collaboration with people much more technical than I am at Seek, it allowed me it gave me the clarity to make some of these decisions, even when I didn't have all the answers, right? How to deal with ambiguity. And to measure success here, again, LinkedIn recruiter search volume, what roles you're recruited for, but let's go a little bit deeper. Let's get more granular. What percentage of hiring manager interviews have you passed? So you notice first, you just want to appear like a product manager, right? To get people searching for you, to bring you in the door. But to take the next step, again, you still have to have the skills. You cannot finesse your way in. This is not a bad thing. This is not me gatekeeping. Put yourself in the recruiter's shoes. If they make a bad hire, like I said, it will set the company back for a long time. So you don't want to put yourself in that position. And not only that, but if a company or a role isn't a good fit, that could set your own career back. In fact, I like to tell people that Amazon, and particularly the team that I'm on, is the perfect fit for where I am in my career right now. If I had joined this team earlier in my career, point blank, I would not have been successful. So just to remind everybody, encourage everybody, please do not feel like where you are is where you're stuck. You can and you will grow. So the final step, right? Building your credibility. How do you do that? So I'm not saying you have to get up and speak in front of product school, or you have to be the number one lion on LinkedIn. In fact, just get good at what you do. As a mentor of mine, Jonathan Tepper, has said, if you focus on being the best product manager you can be, everything else follows. And it's really ironic that once I started focusing on just being a good product manager, everything else followed. In fact, by focusing on that, I got to work with USC Keck, the medical school, on a study on how to reduce readmission rates through digital communication. I did a study on that. I did a study on improving population health outcomes using improved medical data models and algorithmic software. One of the last projects I had at USC was an Amazon project, go figure. And really, when I was working on Seek, I'm not going to lie to y'all, I was in the wilderness years of my career. So I talked about that a little bit. And I think, just being brutally honest, I think that showed people that even though Seek failed, I not only learned my lesson, but I was willing to get better so that I could be a better product manager and a better leader in the future. So let's say you've done all these things at the end of your journey. Now what? Well, like Bill Belichick says, do your job. And what does that entail? So one, you want to just keep swimming. Remember how I said you're going to get rejected and it may not feel so hot? Just keep going. Focus on your path. No one path is the same. And in fact, one thing that's kind of neat is because of how matrix the product management space has become, if you focus on your own lane, I promise you there is going to be a right fit company. I promise you. In fact, my old technical co-founder, Brett, he is an AI product manager at Fox. That's not my ministry. That is not something that I will ever be an expert at. Brett will never have to worry about me trying to compete with him in that space. And vice versa. I'm sure there's some things where Brett looks at it and goes, I'm not too interested. In fact, Seek was kind of like that. He wasn't as interested in healthcare technology. Also, subject matter expertise is key. I've been trying to talk around it, but you have to be a subject matter expert in your domain. That's actually more important than just building basic product management skills. The basic product management skills are a prerequisite, or as Chris Rock says, that's what you're supposed to do. But if you have something that you're very interested in, that's a superpower, right? For me, I was very interested in enterprise software, so I indexed that way. And that allowed me to be seen as somebody who knows a little bit more than the average enterprise product manager. Another thing, you want to prioritize context over frameworks. This drives me crazy. Have you ever been in an interview and somebody asked you a question and you didn't use the right framework and they just like crucify you and now you know, man, they're not calling me back. Yeah, the framework, it's okay, but your context around why that framework works is more important, right? In other words, as Dan from Chegg taught me, you have to ask yourself, what problem am I really trying to solve? If you understand what problem you're trying to solve, then how you get there and what mechanisms you use to get there don't matter as long as you get there in a way that, as my mom would say, is legal, ethical, and moral. Also, please tell my mom that I'm a good son. I stole this one from my mentor, Jonathan Tepper, from the first round of Fast Track program. It's called the OODA framework, right? I know I just said prioritize context over frameworks, but this is a framework that helps you see or helps you assess how contextual you're being. Observe, orient, decide, act. In other words, before you even start doing anything, right, whether you're interviewing, once you're in the job, don't go straight into solution mode. Everybody does that. It's a reflex. You're like, oh man, a problem. Hammer, nail, hammer, right? You're going to go crazy. No, just observe, right? Snoop Dogg said it. Chill till the next episode. See what's going on. Once you see what's going on, you can then orient yourself to things like organizational clock speed. My mentor, Bill McFarland, taught me this, right? A company can only do so much in a certain time period, and it's contextual to the company. If you observe and you orient yourself with kind of, how the culture moves, you'll be a lot more effective in not ramming your head into a wall or quite possibly having diva moments like I used to earlier in my career. Not anymore, though. And then after that, then you can quickly decide what you need to do and act. And finally, always obsess over continuous improvement. This is something that's taken from the operational space or given one of my previous roles, the nuclear space. Shout out to one of my product manager friends, Mace Johnson. But once you get the role, don't be that person that goes, okay, I got the job. Now I'm cool. I'm going to relax. No way. Especially in technology, but across all business. Products, services, business models, what customers want are always going to evolve. And if you're not constantly trying to learn and trying to get better and trying to learn from other people, it's not worth it. But I don't have to say that. I'm preaching to the choir. You all are here at product school getting a chance to learn this, and you all are clearly taking the initiative to invest in yourself. And with that, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm grateful to product school for the opportunity. Thank you, everybody, for even watching the ramblings of a madman in the first place. This is my favorite anime, One Piece. This doesn't apply to product management at all. I mean, I can make it that way. I just like One Piece. It's the best. If you want to talk about that, you can find me on Twitter at Jordan Runs It, or just add me on LinkedIn and I'll always be down to help. But without further ado, I guess I'll catch you on the next dimension. Take it easy.